Beyond.
It says we're going, so we're gonna start going. Welcome back to Everything EOS, the longest running EOS podcast. I am here with Yves LaRose, the recent recipient, EOS Nation as the recent recipient of an EOS VC grant for, I don't have the exact number in my head, but $600 and something thousand to build a crowdfunding platform, portal, whatever you want to call it, for the EOS mainnet. It could also support EOSIO, but the smart contracts will be deployed on EOS as far as I understand. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to the show, Yves.
Welcome, Zach. Thank you for the intro. And thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, so there's so much happening in EOS right now. We've got the reemergence of Dan. We've got this Eden thing. We've got Clarion OS. But we're not going to talk about any of that today. And why is that, Yves?
Because we're going to be talking about it tomorrow, Zach. Tomorrow at it's a good segue into we're going to be talking about it tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So Eastern Time.
Yeah.
So one-on-one with Dan, and we'll be going
one-on-one,
or two-on-one, one-on-one, and we'll be talking about Dan, his ideas, and basically his book probably, and kind of how all that relates to what he's been working on.
But today we talk about the crowdfunding platform. There wasn't a whole lot of information in the press release, so that's what this is for. This is the open discussion for the EOS community. I also want to give a shout out to EOS Asia. This wasn't just EOS Nation. It was an EOS Nation and EOS Asia collaboration. EOS Asia, you may have used their block explorer, eosx.io. It's a great one. A lot of people...
the PB, so Public Blockchain Engagement Group. I want to give a shout out to Kevin and to everybody else in the team. I want to give a really big thanks to Block.one for trusting us and really supporting us, coming together and directly supporting this project and putting their trust in us. And as I said, the PBE team, we've been working hand in hand with them for a very long time at this point to make this happen. It's been a long journey, and we're extremely happy to be here, and very, very thankful for what PBE has done to facilitate this and to get this to where it is now, as well as Block.one, because as one of the largest stakeholders in the ecosystem, we really wanted them to see kind of the vision that we had in mind, and without them this would not be possible. So thank you very much.
So how's it work?
What was the question?
What was the question? I have a lot.
How did this come about?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Yeah, start there. So you said PBE got it started, but so I remember how does this tie into the WPS? How about that? Because last year, we were really close.
I'm not calling this one a WPS. So if you've seen me before, and I'll keep referring to WPS like, WPS dash like, because it's a crowdsourcing funding platform. But really for EOS Nation, our journey into this particular realm started 2.5 years ago. We built a WPS system on another chain, and then eventually, what we learned from that, we decided to apply that to build and propose something on EOS on the mainnet, and we learned a lot from that process. We learned a lot from the stakeholder outreach, and ultimately we decided to pull the plug on that one. And we can go into details as to why that might be, or what the concerns were, or anything like that. But ultimately that led to what we now have, and what we've just now received a grant for today, because we believe that it's a better system. It's a longer term, more sustainable system. It addresses the concerns that we believed, were somewhat heavy and or legitimate, that were worthwhile addressing. The platform probably still would have worked as intended, but there were legitimate concerns and perceived conflict of interest, etc. And so really, we really address all of those with this particular platform. But for this, let's say, iteration, the journey really started, I'd say, early last summer. So it's been almost a year that we've been working with this, doing the back and forth with Block.one, with PB, to really explain what the vision is, and where we wanted to take this and what it would take to bring it to reality.
So were you planning to build it whether or not PB and Block.one were to support it or not, or was it kind of pending the collaboration?
Well, see, we had built a WPS
I know
system.
you did. That's what I mean.
So, and we're talking about a lot of developer resources and in partnership with Attic Lab. And so that was a lot of time and resources put into something that in the end was not brought forth, or that did not continue. And for this, I think we were quite reticent in the beginning to want to go through the whole motions again without knowing that there'd be some kind of a direct replica or greatly inspired by Gitcoin, which has been doing this on Ethereum now for, they're going on their 9th round, so a little over 2 years.
I think my screen just said it was disconnected. Could you guys in the live chat let me know if we're back on? I had like a weird disconnected thing, but it says it's back, so we'll just
back. Well,
I'm glad you broke all that crazy news that nobody got to hear while it was disconnected for a second. So one of the, I was just messing around. I was trying to get the browser on the screen, but I'm not going to mess with it because I don't want to break it again. But a big key part of the press release, like I said, it didn't say that much, but one of the key pieces is that Block.one intends to be an initial funding contributor to community selected grants once the portal launches later this year. So that's Block.one. You're not really, are you able to, do you know anything more about that, or is it pretty much what it says?
Well, I do know about this. So they've publicly written that they support this. Obviously, they're the ones who did the press release, and they will be an initial matching partner. And I can't go into details as to what that might mean, but I do want to put the caveat out there that people should not be expecting absorption sums in the very beginning for multiple reasons. But the main one being, this is going to be the first time that we do an iteration like this on EOS. So don't go expecting that round one, and we can go into details on how Gitcoin works and what I mean by when I say rounds, but don't go expecting that round one would, for example, have $10 million in it and we just splash the pot. It would likely be a waste, and we really wouldn't be based on the data that they gather. So it's data driven, and then they build tools to be able to better track the data and to be able to better make judgment calls, etc.
So
we're going to take a very similar approach.
Yeah, why don't we go back there and just explain kind of like what Gitcoin is. So it's based on a lot of the concepts of Gitcoin, which has a thing called quadratic voting, and the community literally decides who gets funded, and it's through a grant matching. So basically someone would make a proposal, I would make a proposal for like everything EOS, and then it's up to the community to decide to vote, and the community votes with skin in the game. They vote with tokens, they contribute with donations.
Yeah, they actually send you donations. Yeah.
And with Gitcoin, they have Consensus and the Ethereum Foundation, which offer a grant matching program where they match the donations, sometimes at a much greater than a 1-to-1 ratio, sometimes at a 1-to-1.
So it's disproportionately way higher than a 1-to-1 ratio in general.
So could you kind of go into detail a little bit about how that works, and maybe even what Sybil resistant capabilities are in it right now, what you guys are planning to build or have built, and the quadratic voting stuff is pretty interesting also. So
quadratic voting or quadratic funding comes from an academic paper that Vitalik Buterin was a contributor to, or an author on. And it's essentially where the amount received by the project is proportional to the square of the sum of the square roots of contributions, blah, 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 blah. What that means is there's a nice algorithm in the background that determines and really is optimized in terms of maximizing funds for public goods and how those are matched. And the paper itself, the academic paper itself, really goes into detail, and it really essentially lays out why this is the case and why this is perfect for public goods. So why this could be applied, for example, to charitable organizations, or for when cities determine what they should fund based on what people want to fund, etc. And so it really focuses on highlighting and taking out and really, I guess, creating communities, sustaining communities, and really matching those communities in terms of numbers with a proportional dollar valuation. So a concrete example, I'll give a very simple example. Let's say that in the matching pool, there's dollars available. You would get a disproportionate amount of that 10,000 compared to me. So even though we both receive $10 worth of support, because your $10 comes from 10 people and my $10 comes from one person, I don't have the exact number, and it's very easy to figure it out. But let's say you'd get $9,000 in matching, and I'd get $1,000 matching. So at the end, we both got $10. We both have support from the community, but because your community is bigger, then you would end up in this hypothetical example with $9,010. I'd end up with $1,010, even though we both receive the same amount. So it really is the power of communities. It's really the power of really kind of tilting the scale away from large contributors, which they can still donate. They will still get matched, but small donors get, and volume of donors get matched at a far greater number. Now, of course, then the first thing that comes to mind is this would be prone to Sybil attack, or this would be prone to collusion.